Hello and welcome to Talking Brains. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie Sarkis, author of Gaslighting, Recognize Manipulative and Emotionally Abusive People and Break Free. That can be found at stephaniesarkis.com. Today I'm going to be talking about financial or economic abuse, which is a form of domestic violence. Please hit that subscribe button and give us a rating. It's appreciated. Thank you. So today on the Nerds in Love podcast I co-host, a person wrote in talking about how her boyfriend had been rerouting money meant for a car payment, and he used it to take the same amount of money out of the ATM. So she went to, get her car towed and found out that the car was under repossession. And this whole time she thought she was paying the car payment and went to the bank, and her bank told her that her boyfriend had actually been taking the money out of the ATM. So suddenly the expensive items he bought for himself started making sense, and he denied to her they did anything wrong. So my co-host on Nerds in Love pointed out that Kurt, that this type of behavior is financial abuse, and he was absolutely correct. Financial or economic abuse is just as serious as emotional, verbal, and physical abuse. I found an article by Adrienne Adams at the Center for Financial Security at the University of Wisconsin, and she found that financial economic abuse occurs in 99% of domestic violence cases. So beyond power, one of abusers, gaslighters, narcissists' motives is to limit your access to money and resources, and this leaves you very vulnerable to manipulation and abuse. This means that you have a harder time leaving because you don't have access to things to enable you to leave. So also, it doesn't matter if the abuser or gaslighter or narcissist has their own money, they still want to get a hold of yours. They'll try to get their name on your possessions or manipulate you into signing your possessions over to them. The excuses sometimes they use are, your kids want to get their hands on this and sell it, I'll make sure it doesn't happen, or we'll save money this way. They'll make it sound like they're doing this for the good of the two of you when it's in fact just for their own benefit. When you ask and explain what they mean when they say these things, they tell you not to worry about it, or the classic, you just wouldn't understand that this is above your expertise level or above your intelligence level. That's a common thing that abusers say. So I'm going to read you some of the ways that financial abuse is done in relationships, and listen and see if any of these you identify with. The other ways that abuser, gaslighter, narcissist financially abuses their partner is by threatening to cut you off for any support, controlling how and when money is spent, forcing you to deposit your own paycheck into their account, forcing you to file false tax returns or false financial affidavits, withholding your money from your children, stealing your identity, taking out loans and other financial liabilities like credit cards in your name, refusing to pay child support, lying on financial affidavit forms, or dragging your divorce or custody process out, filing custody orders against you solely as a way of bankrupting you with court and attorney's fees, withholding money from you getting your basic needs fulfilled, using money as punishment, refusing to pay for medication for you or your children and not letting you use your own money for it either, refusing to work, forbidding you to work, forcing you to bail them out, threatening to cut you off financially if you disagree with them, opening your bank statements or other financial documents, forbidding you to attend trainings to increase your employability, because if you increase your employability, that means that you gain more independence. That's exactly what these people do not want you to have. Forbidding you to receive an education for the same reason. It encourages you to be independent. Basing an allowance on sexual activity. Making important financial decisions without consulting you. Making you account for every purchase you make, no matter how small it is. Not allowing you to have a bank account or investments. Forcing you to put their name on bank accounts. So that way, if their name's in the bank account, they can take out the money anytime they want without consulting with you. So also forcing you to work in the family business without any compensation. Forcing you to give them your bank account or investment logins and passwords. Hiding your valuable belongings. Taking money or using your credit cards without your permission. Putting you on a strict budget, or any budget at all without your consent. You're told you deserve this treatment because you're irresponsible with money. I cannot tell you how many times I'm working with people with ADHD that they've told me that their spouse has told them, well, you're irresponsible with money, so I need to control all of it. And it turns into controlling behavior where they don't have access to any of their money. Forcing you to quit your job, refusing to pay bills, ruining your credit score, forcing you to co-sign a loan, threatening to kick you out of your home without financial support, blaming you for missing items in the home that they hid. And usually it's items of high monetary value or high sentimental value. Like I've talked with people who have had their wedding rings hidden on them, and the abuser or gaslighter or narcissist will tell them, well, don't you care about our relationship? You're so irresponsible. I need to be in charge of everything. And again, this is another way they get control over you. Also destroying your property, threatening to destroy your property, giving or selling your property, also using threats to get money from you, controlling access to the internet, your phone or stores, because again, that asserts independence. So the goal of all these behaviors is power, control, and isolation. So the gaslighter, narcissist, abuser knows that they can control you financially or economically. You are forced to rely on them more and more. But you may be wondering, what do you mean force? How can someone force you to co-sign a loan? So this is how this works. An abuser forces their partner by threatening them, their children, their pets, and their extended family with harm or death. They'll also threaten to throw their partner out of the house, and they also may use weapons, commonly firearms, to threaten their partner. They may even hold someone by gunpoint to get them to another location, like a bank, to sign paperwork. So they may also threaten to reveal embarrassing information about the partner to their loved ones or work. So again, this is a form of blackmail. It's a way to control people. And if you have ADHD, so again, that's one of the things I specialize in too. You may be saying, well, I am disorganized and irresponsible with finances. I do impulsive spending. I mean, maybe I do deserve to be treated like this. And no, you do not deserve to be treated like this regardless of how disorganized or impulsive you are with money. It does not justify any of the behaviors that I just listed at all. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what finances look like in a healthy relationship to give you a comparison, because sometimes when you've been in this type of abusive relationship, it can be hard to know what healthiness looks like. So let me give you a little bit of an idea. So partners openly talk about their wants and needs. They say, hey, I got a question about this financial thing. Let's sit down and talk about it. And you both talk about it. Even if you disagree, one person doesn't stonewall or ignore the other person as a punishment. They understand that financial decision-making power is equal in the relationship, even if there's a difference in income. Doesn't matter, you have equal say. Each partner has access to their own money to freely use and without hiding spending. Sometimes couples will have a joint account and then individual accounts. And the idea is that you both agree to what you're going to take out of the joint account, and then you each have individual accounts for things like maybe a birthday present, surprise present for someone. And you don't have to share that with someone, because it is also important that you have some privacy in a relationship as well. So also financial decisions are made jointly. You sit down and talk about buying big ticket items, buying things that are expensive, buying things with high emotional value to them. Also, both partners have access to money and knowledge about where money sources exist. So even if your partner has an account just in their name, you still should know that there's an account that exists. If something happens to them, you need to know where that documentation or where those accounts exist. Again, there should be transparency, even if you have your own accounts. So also, if there's a concern about money, again, it's brought up maturely, and both partners can even agree to disagree respectfully, and they still continue to treat each other with respect and love. And again, you can disagree with someone in a healthy relationship, and your relationship does not fall apart. You're not threatened. You are respected for having a different opinion. So, and there's other factors at play here too. So there have been recently some issues dealing with immigration and customs enforcement if you have immigrated to the U.S. So according to an article in the Independent UK that was written on March 16, 2019 by Clark Mindock, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE agents, are looking for immigrants showing up for courthouse hearings, including family court hearings, where people are seeking restraining orders or seeking child support. And there's been a 17-fold increase in the number of immigration arrests in New York City courts alone. It's a form of intimidation, and the issue is it's halting abuse survivors getting access to services. It also sends a message, unfortunately, to abusers that they can get away with abuse. So in February 2019, the Security and Empowerment Act, or SAFE, S-A-F-E, was introduced, or reintroduced rather. The SAFE Act ensures abuse survivors that need medical attention and legal assistance can take leave from work, offers unemployment insurance to survivors who've had to leave their jobs, due to abuse, protect survivors from being fired if they've been the victim of violence or if they've requested protection at work. For instance, some abusers will threaten to come to your work and hurt you. And we have seen the news where that has happened, unfortunately. So again, if you say to your employer, I need protection at work, I've been threatened, your employer then cannot fire you for requesting that. So also, the SAFE Act will fund a national awareness campaign on prevention of abuse and supporting survivors. This SAFE Act was reintroduced by Congresswoman Lucille Roybal Allard and Senator Patty Murray. So Congressman Roybal Allard said, when we talk about support for victims of intimate partner violence, sexual assault, stalking, and revenge pornography, we too often forget about the severe economic impact this abuse can have on survivors. Under current law, survivors risk jeopardizing their jobs, their homes, their health, and their insurance in their effort to escape abuse. This creates an environment where survivors feel trapped in their abusive environment unless they want to risk losing their livelihood. That is why I'm reintroducing the Security and Financial Empowerment Act, the SAFE Act of 2019, allowing survivors to seek legal, mental health, and economic relief from their situation will empower them to break the cycle of violence. No survivor of domestic violence should feel forced to choose between their safety and their paycheck, their job, or their ability to support their family. And that's a statement from Senator Patty Murray. And she continues, that's why I'm fighting to tackle the economic barriers that can prevent survivors from taking the steps they need to seek justice and keep themselves and their families safe. And I hope members on both sides of the aisle will join me to make that happen. So the latest action for the House's SAFE Act was that it was referred to the Subcommittee on Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security on April 8th of 2019. And there's 60 co-sponsors of the SAFE Act, all Democrat. So we'll see what happens with that when it is in the subcommittee. So what can you do if you're the victim of financial abuse? First, realize that this is a true form of abuse, and abusive relationships escalate into violence. So rarely do they ever improve. A gaslighter, narcissist, abuser can promise that things will be better and maybe even be better for a brief period of time, but that's just the calm before the storm. There's a cycle of abusive behavior, and then there's a period of regret and apology, or sometimes with some of these people who don't even apologize. That's pretty rare. And then then there's a build up to the abuse again, and then there's a blow up. And so it continues in a cycle, and every time the abuse tends to get worse. So the abuse occurs again and again and again. And also the most dangerous time in an abusive relationship is when you're leaving. So have a plan, and I'll get to that in a second. An organization you can contact is National Domestic Violence Hotline at thehotline.org. That's THEHOTLINE.org. And their phone number is 1-800-799-7233. And also you can contact your local domestic violence shelter. Now, practically speaking, check your credit report. If you see any activity that you don't recognize, like accounts taken out in your name, report it to one of the 3 credit bureaus. And also begin to save money and keep access to that money away from the abuser. Now, you may be wondering, wait a second, you just said that hiding money is a sign of financial abuse, and now you're saying I should hide it? Now, what's up with that? The difference is that you're hiding money for your survival and your kids' survival. Your partner has hidden money as a way to get power and control over you, and those are 2 very different things. So also there's pro bono, free of charge legal services for survivors of domestic violence. I encourage you, especially if you experience financial abuse, to contact one of the organizations that does provide free of charge legal services to victims of abuse. There's Domestic Violence Pro Bono Guide with services listed by state at probono.net. And I'm going to read you out the entire link, and I'll put it on the description of the podcast too. It's probono.net/D as in dog, V as in Victor, /OPPS guide /. And again, I'll put that in the description of the episode. I'll also search pro bono legal services in your location on Google for more information. So also, when you're considering leaving, get your important documents together, such as birth certificates, social security cards, passports. That's another way that that abusers will try to get control of someone, is by taking their driver's license, their passport. Make sure you have those documents ready to go, and also health insurance cards. Take a photo of these documents with your phone in case the abuser tries to take them from you. Remember, the highest priority is getting you, your children, and your pets out safely. And again, I'd emphasize too, I mentioned pets because you really don't want to leave your animals with the abuser once you leave. And I've had an article on Psychology Today about that and what narcissists will let out their abuse on pets. So make sure you take your pets. And you may have to leave something behind due to fleeing an emergency situation, but it's usually not worth your life to get back into your home to get that stuff. So again, the priority is getting you and your children out safely and your pets. And also, if someone you love is in a financially abusive or any other way abusive relationship, and that's why you're listening, offer your support, but please refrain from judging your loved one. Leaving an abusive relationship is hard enough without hearing, "I told you so," or "Why did you keep going back?" Staying in an abusive relationship is the function of an abusive relationship. Abusers make it so it's impossible to leave. And again, they do this by taking away your access to resources, your access to your finances. And keep in mind that many people are threatened when their partner suspects or finds out they're leaving. So to the outside, it may look to you like, why is this person leaving? But again, this person may be threatened with their life. So again, remain supportive. Give that person a place to stay. Give that person open communication to talk to you anytime. But please don't judge the person or even judge the relationship, because that is something that person knows the situation they're in. And again, being non-judgmental and being supportive is one of the best things you can do. So this has been Talking Brains, and I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie Sarkis, and I'm the author of Gaslighting, Recognize Manipulative and Emotionally Abusive People and Break Free, and my website, stephaniesarkis.com. And if you could please hit that subscribe button and give a rating to the podcast, that's appreciated. Thank you.